Yo, I'm Connor,
I'm Ridge.
and this is The Groove.
The Groove.
Today, we are doing the second song in this journey called Zeal.
Yes.
And what is the track title?
Hero Over My Head.
And what does it even mean, Hero Over My Head?
Yeah, so like some of the key takeaways that I took out of this was like at this point of the journey, Zeal is realizing that returning back to that childlike faith is a lot more complex and difficult than he thought it to be. Like he's literally going through what I call denial. If I were to summarize this whole track in one word, it's denial, right? He's telling himself, I've been dying in the silence, I've been crying in dirty diamonds, it's too late, it's too late.
And what is he in denial of?
I think, oh man, that's tough. I don't know, I never thought about that. What do you think?
I think if we go back to the opening track, I think the theme that raises the whole issue is I'm not believing.
Oh, right.
Right? And so this denial is almost the denial of the truth.
Yeah.
But the reason why he's denying the truth is because he's experiencing this deep despair. Because if we're even just going by how the track sounds, because Coma, it starts out really soft, and but you know something's about to happen.
Yeah.
And then when Hero Over My Head starts, it's like
a smack in the face.
it's like boom, and it's chaotic. There's a lot going on. It's like dissonant, and like the opening line is, I've been dying in the silence. And then he says, I've been crying dirty diamonds. It's too late. It's too late. It's such a wild thing to experience. I think especially, I even wrote this down, dying in the silence. To me, dying in the silence, what this character Zeal is going through is he's going through this deep despair that is causing him to experience this spiritual apathy. And what I mean by that, he's just spiritually numb. He is almost like afraid to approach God because how he views himself is through the lens of negative thoughts.
Right.
He has a really negative thought pattern here.
Yeah.
About himself.
Yeah.
And he sees himself as the villain pitted against the hero, which is Jesus.
Right. That's deep. Like I really resonated with that line where he identifies himself as the villain in need and is calling out to Jesus to basically help him return to that childlike faith that Chad talks about.
The rediscovery of the reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's in denial because he's believing that he's a villain.
Right.
Against Christ.
Dude, that's.
And so it says, I've been lying double-minded, and not like lying on the ground. I've been lying about who I am.
Wow.
And I've been in the state of double-mindedness.
Wow.
Because what is double-mindedness? It's not believing the reality that Jesus speaks.
Right.
And you're believing these lies over your own life that actually aren't real.
Yeah.
But because you're believing them, it's causing you to continue to walk in a, what would you call, a scarcity mindset? A mindset of that you lack because you're a villain against Christ.
Wow.
And because you're a villain, like he's far away. He's actually not close to you. You're not worthy of love.
Wow. Because he's focusing on himself.
He's focusing on himself.
That's so inevitable, bro. Like the more you focus, man, because I'm thinking about it in my own life, right? Like when I figure out, and I don't even want to say figure out, when I realize like, oh snap, like my focus is on me, then I'll only focus on what I don't have. But when I focus on God, then I really have no room to focus on what he doesn't have because he has everything, you know? Like even in the line that says, lift up my head to see the sun now, like if his head needs to be lifted up, that means his head was already facing where? Facing down.
He's facing down. And when you're facing down, what can't you see?
You can't see the light.
You can't see what's right in front of you.
Right.
That's always been right there, but right before your very eyes.
Oh, dude. And I love how the word sun can, you know, if you don't read it like in actual text, you could either interpret it as lift my head to see the sun, which is Jesus, the Son of God, or you could see lift my head to see the sun, which is the light, obviously the light in the sky.
Right.
And so if if you're looking down at yourself and you're not looking at the sun, in turn, you're looking at your shadow.
Yes, I was about to say
Yeah.
it creates a shadow.
Right.
And you're actually seeing darkness when the light is literally right there. And if you would just look up.
Right. Then you'll see the light.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so crazy.
And there's like a part in the song where there's like a little instrumental groove right before it says, I think it happens a couple times, but it says, it's like, get up, get up, get up. And it's like Chad Gardner, the singer, he's singing get up like in the background. And it's like a little ominous, but it's like, I think of the story of Jesus with, I think it's the paralytic man, where he's saying, get up, pick up your mat and walk. And what is that? The reason why he got up is because he believed that Jesus had the power to do what he said. He believed the word of Jesus. Despite his entire life being a man who could not walk and someone who was despised, because when you're a sick person, if you were a sick person, like, you were considered a sinner.
Yeah.
Like, that you would get that label automatically. You'd be an outcast, not seen as worthy. And this man believed Jesus, and he got up.
He believed in what he had.
He believed in what he had, even though he didn't see that he had it.
Wow.
Especially, he didn't even, like,
That's deep.
no one else saw that he had it either. Because why? The odds are stacked against our senses, because he literally couldn't walk.
Right.
And what he's looking at is his legs that can't move.
Wow.
Right?
Right.
But he didn't rely on what he saw or his senses or his even physical ability.
He literally looked to the sun, like Jesus the sun. Dang, dude, that's so awesome. I didn't notice that.
And so, like, in these lyrics, it's saying, get up, get up. Jesus is like saying, get up, because look what you already have. Like, lift up your head.
The light has always been here.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, like, because the belief that this character Zeal is experiencing, this belief that he's thinking and believing about himself, he's believing he's a villain pitted against Jesus. And because he believes himself to be the villain, like, he'll never see the true reality of who he is until he realizes that he's not a villain against Christ.
Wow.
But why does he believe that he's a villain? It's because he's not living his life lived. Like, his life lived is not measuring up to God's expectations of him, let alone his own expectations of himself.
Wow.
And so he's looking to how well he's performing.
He's like, he's not looking up to the sun, but he's like looking at himself.
He's looking at, like, his
hands, his feet, his journey, his own stuff.
His own stuff. And so he's looking at that, and he's like, well, I don't measure up to, like, what Jesus says, so, like, I must not be.
And it's inevitable to think of yourself as a villain that way.
Right.
You know, like, if you focus more on your past and your wrongdoings, then there's no doubt that you're going to see yourself as the villain.
Right. And I think, or some of the things that are the biggest roots to negative self-talk and negative thoughts is because you're looking to, like, how well you're performing.
Right.
Because we live in a society that is all based around our performance. Where Jesus says, come as you are.
Wow.
Get up, my child.
Wow.
Jesus already says you are something, and you get to live from a place of what he already says about you, and you grow in it.
Wow.
But what Satan, the enemy, wants us to believe is that we're actually the villain, and he's our accuser, and he takes the mistakes that we made and has us live a life through the lens of our mistakes, because our mistakes are somehow what make us who we are. But that's not who we are.
Right. God is so merciful, bro. Like even in the song, even though Zeal looks at himself as an enemy, like the song sonically shifts into this duality, right? Like the first part of the song, and this is something that goes on throughout the album Zeal, where there's this duality of light and darkness, not only thematically but also sonically. Like the first part of it sounds really chaotic, really dark, but then it shifts over to something really nice, really fun, and I think this is God calling out to Zeal, where he says, where Zeal is realizing, you're my only way down when I'm falling up, you're my only way down when I reach the top. Halo over my head, you're the crown of love, hero over my head. And that, I think that's so powerful, because that really shows us the heart of God. You know, that God, although we look at ourselves as the villain, God doesn't leave us to our own negative scripts. You know, like when it comes to self-negativity, it's very easy to tattoo these ideas and these thoughts into our souls and into our hearts.
Yeah.
But God is like, no. Like, I'm calling you again. I'm calling you back home. I'm running to you.
And as we'll see in the next 2 songs, like,
we'll see how he receives it. Like, does he receive it? Does he not receive it?
Does he not receive it?
And like, this is such a real thing, right? Like, sometimes God calls us and he gives us certain truths, but sometimes we don't receive it in the way like God wants us to. And we allow ourselves to continually view ourselves as the villain. Although God kind of showed up in this song, like, as we'll see in the next song, it doesn't get better.
It doesn't.
Like, and it kind of shows you a preview of what's going to happen next in the journey at the end of the song. It says, where he says, over my head. That repeats over and over again, over my head. And I love the double entendre of this.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about this earlier.
Yeah. Where in the chorus he says, hero over my head. Like, Zeal is wanting to have Jesus be the king over his head, his mind, his belief. But the idea of over my head isn't just this posture of decision, but the phrase over my head isn't just something that's like, oh, something is over my head, like a halo over my head. But if I tell you something, Connor, and you don't get it, it goes over your head,
my head.
like literally. And so, although God is showing his light in the darkness, this duality of light and darkness in this song, like, although light is here, although truth was given to Zeal, it literally went over his head. And you see that as the album continues.
And the reason being goes back to what he stated in the previous song. Right. I'm not believing.
Right.
And the reason is because I view myself through the lens of the lies of the enemy.
Right.
And the enemy is speaking this lie. I'm the villain. Christ is the hero. I'm the villain, but I'm too villainous for the hero to save me.
Wow. So, honestly, if there's anybody watching or listening to this video right now, and you believe yourself to be the villain in your relationship with God, no, that's a lie. No, that's not who you are. Really, God doesn't look at you as a villain. He doesn't look at you as an enemy. But while we were yet sinners, while we were yet enemies, Christ died for us.
And so what that actually reveals is God's heart towards us and how he actually views us. Because while we were enemies, and that's what the Bible says.
While we were villains.
While
that's
we were
so cool.
villains.
Never.
While we were villains, Christ died and made us alive together with him.
Wow.
And that's the reality. And so if you're struggling to believe that because you're stuck and you relate to this character Zeal, you're stuck in this despair, these negative thoughts, you're looking at yourself and you're thinking, man, I don't measure up. I don't measure up to what God says I need to do. I don't measure up to what I even think I need to do, or even the expectations of all the people around me. Don't even let those things have an inch of truth in your mind, because it's not true. Because the reality is that you may see yourself as a villain, but while you were the villain, Christ died because he actually doesn't see you as the villain. And the true reality is he sees you as someone precious, someone who has value and has worth apart from your performance, because your identity does not revolve around your performance. And I think that's something for me that every single day I just wake up thankful. I'm like, God, thank you that my performance is not my identity.
Wow.
God, thank you that like I'm a child simply because you say so, and simply because you showed me that that is true. And I don't have to let these lies that the enemy tries from the outside to get into my head like have any weight or take any more roots into my life that it once had.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that, bro. That's powerful. Well, we'll see where Zeal goes next in his journey. So I'm Ridge.
I'm Connor.
And you're watching
The Groove.